The Titan moved through the dark of space like a knife cutting through nothing. Commander Lisa Grant stood in the wide observation room and watched the stars move past the glass. The ship was 3 kilometers long. It was the biggest machine that humans had ever built. 5 years of work, 5 years of building, and now it was out here in the deep black where no human had ever been before. Lisa touched the cold glass with her hand. On the other side of it was nothing but emptiness and distance. Behind her, the bridge hummed with sounds. Screens showed green lights. The engines were working good. The shields were up. Everything was fine. Everything was ready. But Lisa felt something in her chest that made her uncomfortable. Something old and deep that humans have felt since they first looked at the night sky. Fear. Not fear of the Titan. Fear of what they might find out there. The voice came through the speaker on the wall. It was Captain Henry Morrison. The captain was in the command center 1 floor below. His voice was steady and calm, like it always was. All crew, stand by for announcement. We are leaving the safe zone now. We are heading into unknown space. Stay alert. Stay professional. Lisa turned away from the glass and moved toward the door. She needed to get to her station. The observation deck was beautiful, but it was not where she worked. She worked in the weapons control room. She was one of the people responsible for keeping this ship alive. If something came at them, if something went wrong, Lisa would be the one to fight back. That was why she was here. That was her job. The weapons control room was cold and quiet. Lisa sat down in her chair. The screens in front of her lit up with information. Power levels. Shield status. Weapon systems. Everything showed green. Everything was ready. Lisa put her hands on the controls and felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She was responsible for 400 people on this ship. Maybe more if you counted the families. The children in the school section. The people in the medical bay. The scientists working in the labs. Everyone on this ship was her responsibility if things went bad. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes sat next to her. Marcus had been training for combat since he was 18 years old. He was young, maybe 30 now, but he had the eyes of someone who understood what it meant to fight. Those eyes were looking at the screens now, watching the data come in from space. Marcus spoke in a low voice. Lisa, did you hear what the captain said? We are really doing this. We are really going out into the unknown. There is nothing between us and whatever is out there except this ship and us. Lisa did not answer. She did not need to. Marcus knew what she thought. They both knew that this was the moment everything changed. This was the moment humanity stopped hiding on one small world and started reaching out to whatever else was in the universe. The sensors started picking up something about 2 hours later. It started small. Just a blip on the screen. Just a little sign that something was out there. But the blip got bigger. The blip became 2 blips. Then 3. Then more. Marcus leaned forward in his seat. His face did not change, but Lisa could see his jaw get tight. She could see him understand what the screen was showing. There was something out there. And it was not alone. Captain Morrison called everyone to the command center. Lisa and Marcus ran through the corridors of the Titan. The ship was so big that it took time to move from one place to another. They moved past crew members in gray uniforms. Everyone was moving toward the combat stations now. Everyone knew what was coming. The sensors did not lie. There was something out there, in the dark. The command center was the heart of the Titan. It was a room full of screens and chairs, and people who knew what they were doing. In the center of the room was the captain. Captain Henry Morrison was 50 years old. He had gray in his hair. He had lines on his face from thinking hard about hard problems. He had the look of someone who knew what war was. He had seen it before, on Earth, long time ago. He was not scared. He was ready. Morrison looked at the screens. He looked at the data coming in from the sensors. He looked at everyone in the room. Then he spoke. We have contact. Multiple ships. They are heading toward us. They are armed. They are military. Everyone looked at the main screen. What they saw made some people breathe in sharp. 17 ships were moving toward the Titan. They were smaller ships, fast ships. They had the shape of weapons. They had the look of something built to fight and nothing else. A message came through on the radio. It was in English, but it was not spoken by a human. The translation computer had already converted it. The voice was cold. The voice did not care about anything. The voice said these words: "Identify your ship. Identify your species. Surrender your vessel now. We will allow your crew to leave alive." Lisa felt something cold move down her back. They wanted the ship. They wanted the Titan. They did not care about the people on it. They just wanted the ship. Captain Morrison sat still for a moment. Then he opened the radio channel. He did not sound scared. He did not sound angry. He just sounded like someone who had made a decision and knew it was the right one. This is the human. Ship Titan. We are explorers. We are not a threat to you. We will not surrender. We will not run. If you want to talk, we can talk. If you want to fight, we can fight. But know this: we will defend ourselves. The ships on the screen did not slow down. They got faster. They got closer. The Titan's weapons locked onto them. The battle was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same again. The first attack came fast. The Catherine ships moved like animals hunting prey. 17 ships all firing at once. It was meant to be a killing blow. It was meant to be something the human ship could not survive. The plasma weapons lit up the darkness like evil stars. Bright and hot and full of death. All of it came at the Titan. The shields caught the fire. The shields were built to take this kind of punishment. They flickered and glowed. They pushed the heat away from the ship. The Titan moved a little, pushed by the force of the attack. But the ship was too big to be moved much. The ship was built heavy. The ship was built to survive. In the weapons control room, Lisa watched the screens show her what was happening. The energy from the alien weapons hit the shields and turned into light and heat. The power levels dropped fast. The reactor worked hard to keep the shields alive. Around her, she could hear people talking on the radio. Captain Morrison was calm. All crew members were calm. This was what they had trained for. This was why they came to space. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes had his hands on his controls. His eyes moved across the weapons displays. He was looking for the right moment. He was waiting for the exact time to fire back. The Catherines would expect him to fire fast. They would expect him to shoot back right away. But Marcus was smarter than that. Marcus had studied how the aliens moved. He knew their patterns. The shields held for 40 seconds. 40 seconds is not very long in normal life. But 40 seconds of weapons fire from 17 fighting ships is a lifetime. The shields got weaker and weaker. The power in the reactor was getting used up. But Marcus knew something that the Catherines did not know. The shields of the Titan had levels. The outer layer would break if it had to. But inside the outer layer was another layer. And inside that layer was another. The Catherines would need to break through all of them to hurt the ship. The outer shield broke. The Catherine ships started firing harder. They thought they were winning. They thought the Titan was breaking. But the second shield came up, and it was even stronger than the first. The aliens did not understand what they were facing. They did not know that humans had built this ship to survive anything. Captain Morrison gave the order. Return fire. All weapons. Focus on the lead ship. Marcus's hands moved fast. His fingers hit the controls. The Titan's main cannon came alive. It was a gun that was built to punch holes through the armor of capital ships. It was built to kill things that were big and hard and far away. The lead Catherine ship was none of those things. The lead Catherine ship was small and fast, but it was not small enough. The beam of energy came out of the Titan's nose like a sword made of light. It was so bright that it hurt to look at. It was so hot that it melted through armor like butter. The Catherine ship's shields did not even slow it down. The beam cut through the shields like they were made of paper. Then it cut through the hull of the ship. Then it cut the ship in half. The Catherine vessel exploded. It became fire and broken metal and light. The crew inside was gone. They died because they thought they were strong enough to kill a human ship. They learned different. They learned too late. Engineer Robert Ames was in the power section of the Titan. He had 3 other people working with him. They watched the power numbers on their screens. The main cannon had used a lot of power. It had taken enough energy to power a whole city for a day. But the reactor made more power. The reactor kept making more power. The reactor would never stop making power until the Titan told it to. The Catherine ships were confused now. They had lost their leader. One of their fleet was gone. But they kept firing. They came closer to the Titan. 2 of them tried to get near the engines. They thought maybe they could hit the engines and cripple the ship. But the Titan had other guns besides the big cannon. It had many guns. It had guns that could hit fast targets at close range. Marcus used those guns. He used them like a human uses a hand to push away something that is trying to touch them. The 2 Catherine ships exploded before they got close. They became fire just like the first ship. The other Catherines saw what was happening. They saw that they were losing. They saw that the Titan was not breaking. The Titan was not even hurt yet. The Catherine ships turned around. They started to run. They fired one more time as they fled, but their shots did not hit anything important. The shields of the Titan could take them. The shields did take them. Captain Morrison watched them go. He did not tell the Titan to chase them. He did not tell the weapons to keep firing. Instead, he opened the radio channel again. His voice went out into the darkness. To all the Catherine ships and to anyone else who might be listening, we come in peace. We wish to talk to your people. We wish to make trade with you. We will not fire on your ships if they flee. But we will not surrender. We will not be conquered. We will not be weak. This is the human ship Titan. We are here now. Everything has changed. The Catherine ships kept running. They did not send any more messages. They just ran back toward their home world. They ran to tell their leaders what they had seen. They ran to tell them that humans were not like any other species they had ever met. Humans were different. Humans had teeth. And humans knew how to use them. In the weapons control room, Lisa and Marcus sat back in their chairs. The battle was over. They had won. 3 Catherine ships were destroyed. The rest had run. The Titan had not been damaged. Not even a little bit. The shields had held. The crew had stayed alive. Everything had worked the way it was supposed to work. Lisa looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Lisa. They did not need to say anything. They both knew what had just happened. Humanity had just told the galaxy that we were here. We were strong. We were ready. And nothing would ever be the same. The Catherine planet was called Keth. It was a big world with 3 moons. The cities on Keth were old. They were built from stone and metal that had been shaped by hands and machines over thousands of years. The people who lived there were called Catherines. They had bodies that looked like the bodies of Earth reptiles, but they were smart. They were smart like humans are smart. Maybe smarter in some ways. But they were not smarter in the ways that mattered right now. The Supreme Council of the Catherine government sat in a room. that was made of white stone. The room was clean and cold. All the council members had come to the meeting because something bad had happened. Something that had never happened before. One of their fleets was destroyed. A Catherine fleet, one of the strongest fleets in this part of space, had been destroyed by a single ship. Admiral Cora was the oldest member of the council. She had commanded wars. She had seen things that most Catherines had never seen. She had lived for 130 years. Her eyes were old, but they still held the light of intelligence. She spoke first, thought, "This is a problem. A big problem." The other council members looked at her. They wanted to hear what she would say. Cora had always been right before. Cora had always known what to do. A single ship did this. One ship. It destroyed 17 of our warships. It had better weapons. It had better shields. It had more power. And when we ran, it did not chase us. It told us it wanted peace. This is not the action of a monster. This is the action of something that understands power. Something that has power and knows it. A younger council member spoke. His name was Vex. He was angry. He wanted blood. We should send more ships. We should send 100 ships. We should send everything we have. We should burn their world from space until there is nothing left. No one speaks to the Catherine people like this. No one destroys our ships and lives. Cora looked at Vex. She did not blink. She did not move. She just looked at him until he stopped speaking. Then she spoke again. We do not know where their world is. We do not even know if they came from this space. They might come from somewhere else. They might have other ships. They might have 100 ships like the one we just saw. You want to send 100 ships to fight them? What if they have 100 ships? What if they have 1,000? Do you want to die for your anger? The council room was silent. What Cora said made sense. It was the kind of sense that came from thinking about things, not from feeling things. War was good when you were sure you would win. War was bad when you might lose. And right now, the Catherines were not sure they would win. Captain Morrison sat in the command center of the Titan and waited. He knew the Catherines would respond. He knew they would either come back to fight or they would come to talk. There was no other choice. He had told them he wanted peace, but he had also shown them they could not win a fight. Now they would have to decide which one they wanted more. The radio came alive. It was a message from the Catherine government. The message was formal. The message was careful. The Catherine people wish to open talks with the human people. We wish to understand what you want. We wish to know who you are. Will you come to our world and speak with us? Morrison looked at his senior officers. Lisa was there. Marcus was there. Engineer Robert Ames was there. Kelly Price was there. She was the communications officer. She was young. She was smart. She was one of the best people on the ship. Morrison made a decision. He spoke to Kelly. I want you to go down to the planet. I want you to speak to the Catherine Council. I want you to tell them who we are. Tell them what we want. Tell them why we came to space. Kelly's face did not change, but her hands moved to her sides. Captain, that is dangerous. I will be alone on their world. If they decide to kill me, I will be very far from help. Morrison looked at her. He knew she was right. He knew it was dangerous. But he also knew that sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe is not a weapon. Sometimes it is a person. One person. One person who is willing to stand in front of strangers and speak truth, even when the truth might get them killed. Morrison spoke again. You are right. It is dangerous. But that is why I want you to go. If we send a military person, they will think we want war. If we send a ship, they will think we want to attack. But if we send you, one person, to speak, they will understand something else. They will understand that we are not afraid, that we are brave enough to do dangerous things, that we trust our own word. Kelly stood up. Okay, I will go. I will speak to them. 3 hours later, Kelly Price stood in a shuttle. She was heading down to the Catherine planet. She was heading down to speak to a council of aliens who had just tried to kill our people. She was heading down alone. No guards, no weapons. Just her words and her courage. As the shuttle came down through the sky, Kelly looked out the window at the planet below. It was beautiful. It had big cities and wide oceans. It had forests and mountains. It was a real world, not so different from Earth. And somewhere on that world, there were people who were afraid. People who did not understand what humans were. People who needed to learn. The shuttle landed in a big open space in the middle of the biggest city. Kelly took a deep breath. She stepped out onto the surface of the Catherine world. The gravity was a little less than Earth. The air was warm. Everything was strange and new. Catherine guards came and took her to the council room. They did not touch her roughly. They did not hurt her. They just took her where she needed to go. Kelly walked into the white stone room where the Catherine Council was waiting. Admiral Cora looked at her. Cora was big and old and strong. But Cora was also smart. Cora could see that Kelly was not scared, even though she should have been scared. Kelly spoke in a voice that was clear and firm. My people are humans. We come from a world far away. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to steal. We are here because we are young and we want to grow. We want to learn. We want to take our place in the galaxy. We do not want war, but we will not be weak. We will not be pushed around. We will not surrender. If you attack us, we will fight back. We will fight hard, and we will fight to win. But if you want peace, we want peace too. We want to trade. We want to share knowledge. We want to be friends. That is why I am here. That is why I am standing in front of you alone. Because I believe you will choose peace. The council was silent. For a long time, no one said anything. Then Admiral Cora smiled. And in that smile, the future changed. The Catherines would not fight again. The Catherines would talk. And from that talk, something new would be born. 6 months had passed since Kelly Price went down to the Catherine planet. 6 months of talking. 6 months of trading. 6 months of learning. The Catherine government and the human government were working together now. They had signed papers. They had made promises. They had become partners instead of enemies. The space around the Catherine planet was different now. Instead of warships, there were supply ships. Instead of weapons, there were traders. Instead of fear, there was hope. The first multi-species space station was being built. Catherines and humans worked together. They used human technology and Catherine knowledge. They built something new that no one had ever built before. Captain Morrison walked through the space station. It was only half finished, but you could already see what it would become. It would be a place where species met and talked and worked together. It would be a place where peace was made real, not just words on a piece of paper. Lisa Grant walked with him. She was no longer just a weapons officer. She was a commander now. Her job was to help keep the peace. Her job was to make sure that what had started with a battle would not end in another battle. It was harder work than she thought it would be. But it was more important work too. They went to the observation area. From here, you could see the whole station. You could see the Titan. You could see the Catherine warships that were not warships anymore. They were transport ships now. They carried people and goods. They were used for work, not for death. Lisa spoke to Morrison. Captain, do you ever think about that first moment? When we saw the 17 ships on the screens. When we did not know if we would live or die. Morrison looked out at the station. He looked at the ships. He looked at all the work being done. Yes, I think about it. I think about how different things would be if we had made different choices. If we had surrendered. If we had run. Where would we be now? Lisa knew the answer. They would be dead. Or they would be slaves. Or they would be hiding somewhere, afraid of their own shadows. Instead, they had fought. They had stood their ground. And they had won. But the real victory was not the battle. The real victory was what came after the battle. The real victory was that they had chosen to make peace instead of choosing revenge. That was the thing that made humans different. Humans could fight. But humans could also learn. Humans could also forgive. The station was getting bigger. Ships from other species started coming. The Vorn came. They were insects, but they were smart insects. They had technology that was different from human technology and different from Kethran technology. When you put all three kinds of technology together, you got something that was better than anyone alone. The Cirth came too. They were reptiles, like the Kethrans, but they had a completely different culture. They were traders. They had goods from 100 worlds. When they heard about the human ship and the Kethran agreement, they wanted in. They wanted to be part of something new. Kelly Price was working hard now. She had a whole team of people working with her. People from 3 different species, all talking together, all learning each other's language, all working to understand each other better. It was hard work. Sometimes people got angry. Sometimes they did not understand what the other people were trying to say. But they kept trying, and every day got a little easier. One day, a Vaughn worker named something that sounded like buzzing in human ears spoke to Kelly. Your people are very strange. You have wars. You have hurt each other very much. You have killed many of your own kind. Why do you not just kill yourself instead of trying so hard to live together? Kelly thought about this question. It was not a mean question. It was an honest question. The Vorn did not understand why humans did what they did. The Vorn were different. The Vorn did things as a group. They did not have wars the way humans did. Kelly answered, We are strange because we are new at this. We have only been smart for a very short time compared to your people. We make mistakes. We kill each other. We hurt each other. But we also have something that makes us keep trying. We have hope. We believe that we can be better. We believe that tomorrow will be better than today. That is why we do not kill ourselves. That is why we keep fighting, even when it is hard. The Vorn made a sound that might have been laughter. Maybe that is why you have this big ship. Maybe that is why you came to space, even though you are not ready. Maybe that is why you fought us and won even though you should have lost. You are hopeful. Hope is more powerful than anything else. Kelly smiled. Maybe that is true. Maybe that is the real power of humans. Not our weapons. Not our shields. Just hope. Just the belief that things can be better. Back on Earth, the news had spread. Humanity had reached the stars. Humanity had fought an alien fleet and won. Humanity had made the first peace with an alien species. Every news station was talking about it. Every government was changing their plans. The space program got more money. More ships were being built. More people were trained to go to the stars. But the most important thing was smaller. The most important thing was that one human, Kelly Price, had walked alone into a room full of aliens who had just tried to kill her people. And she had spoken truth. And that truth had changed the future. In the command center of the Titan, Morrison looked at all the data coming in. The station was 90% finished now. Soon it would be complete. It would be the first place where 4 different species worked together without fighting. It would be a light in the darkness. A sign that peace was possible. a sign that the galaxy did not have to be a place of death and fear. Marson opened the radio channel. He sent a message to Earth, to the leaders of all the human nations, to the people who were watching and waiting. He sent them this message: we are home. We have found our place in the universe. We are not alone anymore. We are not afraid anymore. We are here to build something new, to build something that the galaxy has never seen before, to build a future where different peoples work together instead of fighting. This is what it means to be human. This is what we can do. This is what we will do. 2 years after the Titan arrived at Catherine Space, the station was complete. It was called the Peace Station. It was 3 kilometers across. It had sections from 4 different species. It had schools. It had stores. It had research centers where scientists from different worlds worked together. It had docking bays where ships from 100 planets could land. Captain Morrison stood in the center of the Peace Station. He was no longer the captain of just the Titan. He was the director of the Peace Station. He was responsible for keeping the peace. He was responsible for making sure that this dream did not die. There was a ceremony happening. All the leaders of the 4 main species were here. Admiral Cora came from the Catherines. The Vorn sent their highest queen. The Cirith sent their best trader. And from Earth, the President of the United Nations came. She walked through the station with wonder in her eyes. She had never imagined anything like this. None of them had. The ceremony was simple. Each species lit a light. The light was a symbol. It meant light in the darkness. It meant that darkness did not have to win. It meant that different peoples could come together and make something beautiful. Lisa Grant was there too. She was now the head of security for the station. She had a team that included Catherines, Vorn, and Cirith. They all worked together to keep the peace. They all understood that if they wanted this to work, they had to trust each other. They had to be willing to die for each other if they had to. The young people were the most beautiful part of the ceremony. Young humans, young Catherines, young Vorn, and young Cirith all stood together. They sang together in different languages. They danced together. They had learned to live together. They had not been told that they should be afraid of each other. They had been taught that different was interesting. Different was good. Kelly Price spoke at the ceremony. She stood on a big stage and looked at all the people. There were thousands of people watching. People from 4 different worlds. People with different bodies and different minds and different ways of thinking. But all of them were listening to what Kelly had to say. She spoke simply. 2 years ago, I stood in front of the Catherine Council. I was alone. I was afraid, even though I did not show it. I did not know if I would live to see another day. But I knew something that made me brave. I knew that hope is stronger than fear. I knew that one person can change things. I knew that if I stood in the darkness and spoke the truth, the light would come. Kelly pointed to the lights that had just been lit. Look at these lights. These are not military lights. These are not weapons. These are symbols of something that has never existed before. They are symbols of peace between worlds. They are symbols that we can choose to work together instead of fighting. They are symbols that we can trust each other. The Catherine leader, Admiral Cora, stepped forward. Cora was old, but her eyes were bright. She spoke in her own language, and the translator changed her words into human words. I was wrong. When I first saw your ship, I thought you were a threat. I thought we should destroy you. But I was wrong. You are not a threat. You are a gift. You showed us that the galaxy does not have to be a place of fear. You showed us that change is possible. You showed us that we can be better than we have been. The Vorm Queen made sounds that were like music. The Cirith trader bowed low. The President of Earth stepped forward and took the hands of all the alien leaders. It was a moment that would be remembered forever. It was the moment that the future truly changed. On the Titan, which was now docked at the peace station, engineer Robert Ames looked at his reactor. The reactor had kept the ship alive. The reactor had provided the power for the weapons that had won the first battle. But the reactor had also provided the power for everything that came after. The power for the lights, the power for the schools, the power for the hope. Ames spoke to the young engineers who were training under him. Some of them were human. Some of them were Catherine. Some of them were Vaughn. They all had the same job. They all had to keep the reactor working. They all had to keep the lights on. Ames told them a story. He told them about the first battle. He told them about the 17 ships that tried to kill the Titan. He told them how the Titan had survived. But then he told them something else. He told them that the real victory was not the battle. The real victory was that after the battle, humans chose peace instead of revenge. That took more strength than fighting. That took more courage. At night, the peace station shone like a star. It shone with light from 4 worlds. It shone with hope. Every ship that came near, it could see the light. Every captain that saw the light understood something. They understood that peace was possible. They understood that the galaxy was changing. They understood that the future was different from the past. The Titan still floated next to the peace station. It was still there, ready to protect the peace if something tried to break it. But the Titan was not a weapon anymore. It was a symbol. It was a symbol that humans were strong. But humans were also smart enough to know when to fight and when to make peace. Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck one more time. He looked out at the galaxy. He looked at the stars that went on forever. He thought about how far humans had come in such a short time. From Earth to the stars. From fear to hope. From war to peace. He thought about Kelly Price standing alone in front of the Alien Council. He thought about Lisa Grant commanding her weapons when the battle first began. He thought about all the people who had believed that this could work. That humans and aliens could live together. That the future could be different. Morrison opened the radio channel one last time. He sent a message to every human ship. To every human colony, to every human who was listening. He said these words: "We are home. We are here. We are strong. We are brave. We are human. And we are going to build a future where all peoples, all species, all worlds work together to make something beautiful. This is our time. This is our moment. This is our future. And it will be bright." The lights of the peace station shone on. They shone into the darkness. They shone like a beacon of hope. They shone to show that even when things are hard, even when things look impossible, humans can choose to do something good. Humans can choose to build instead of destroy. Humans can choose to hope instead of fear. And that choice, that simple choice to hope, changed everything.